at the, okay.
Welcome again to another episode of Just Nation, a show about justice, race, and faith in the city of Philadelphia. My name is Reverend Gregory Holston, and I'm glad again to be your host of this program as we deal with some of the tough issues facing our city, our nation, and our community. As today, for the second time, my co-host is not here, Nia Holston, my daughter, but I am glad to report that she has given birth and that I am now a grandfather again. So I'm very, very happy, and everybody else is very happy as well. But she'll be back here soon in the next couple of months. But I do have some wonderful guests here today, good friends, some that I've known quite a long time, and glad to be here with today as we talk about the necessity of understanding that Philly really is a union town, and that Philly and unionization are key to ending poverty in the city of Philadelphia. And so I got some great union leaders with us today who are going to share about some of the challenges faced by unions in Philadelphia, some of the victories, and some of the things we need to get behind them going forward so we can build a city that is a blessing and a joy to everyone. So to my right, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Brahim Douglas. I'm an outreach specialist with Unite Here Training Fund and also the Vice President of Unite Here Local 274.
The first African-American Vice President?
I believe so.
Great, so glad to have you. I've known Brahim, for about 10, 12 years.
12 years.
Some of the battles at the airport that we were engaged in together. And just thank you so much for all the work you've been doing over the years. And to my left?
My name is Nicole Hunt, President of Unite Here Local 634, the union that represents the school district cafeteria workers.
Mm-hmm. And again, good to see you, Nicole. This is your second time on the program.
It is.
And my best memory of you is us pushing the wheelchair off as you were doing the fast.
In 2013.
Yeah, the fast at the hotel, I guess it was.
At Broad and Walnut.
Broad and Walnut, mm-hmm. and the victory push up Broad Street together.
Yes.
Which I still have the picture of that in my office.
Me too, on my wall.
Yeah, great time. Mm-hmm. And you weren't the president of the union then.
No.
But we knew that we knew that you were going to be the union president sooner or later. And further to my left, if you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Seth Anderson Oberman. We've got two great union leaders here. And myself, I was a union organizer for 25 years. Was never a union leader in the sense that these two are. But I'm currently the executive director of Reclaim Philadelphia, and happy to join and share in conversation with y'all.
So glad to have you as well. Your 25 years of experience in working in unions, all the variety of things that you were involved with, I think will give us a rich conversation about what's happening with unions here in Philadelphia. And so why don't we start with you, Seth, as we give us the big picture. How do you see the current wave of contract fights from hotels to security officers shaping the future of the labor movement here in Philadelphia?
It's a big question. Yeah, no, thank you, Reverend Holston, first of all, for having us on your show. This is an incredibly important topic. You know, we are a union town. Everybody says that, right? Philadelphia is a union town, and we are, and we have been. You know, and working class people in Philadelphia are struggling. The cost of affordability to continue to live and stay in this city continues to increase and increase and increase. Rent, groceries, insurance, everything you can name, the cost is going up and wages have stagnated. We're in a period now, it almost feels like we're at a breaking point. Things can't continue this way. And yet corporations are, even though they're incredibly profitable, and this is the most profitable time literally in human history, right, that there's been, and yet they're not paying workers enough to live. So this is a huge fight. We have to organize more working people into the labor movement. We need to expand our strength, our representation, engagement of working class people into our labor movement in Philadelphia in order to build the kind of power that we need to win the kind of transformative and that people deserve.
Thank you so much. Nicole, can you answer the same question? What is the overall landscape of unionization here in Philadelphia? What's the big picture? And what about these contract battles that are going on now between hotels and security officers and your own offices at the school system?
I think now you see so much more on TV, I think social media, I think the news, I think it has a lot it gives more nationality, a more visible size of unions fighting back and workers standing up. So when one group like the Sheraton and 274 were just on strike for a couple days, and it was all over the news. And so folks see that and say, why can't we do that? Because again, as I say, like, I want for my brother what I want for myself. And so they see that their family members are in these shops and union shops, and they say, well, wait a minute, a union shop, I can get this amount of wages, but then I'm at this shop and I don't get the same thing. And so I think that people see more of it, and people are now realizing that they got a voice. Because I remember when I started with the union, we had older folks who were scared to speak up because they thought they were going to lose their job if they spoke up.
Right.
And they didn't realize that they did, you know, people intimidated them. The boss intimidated them. Their supervisor intimidated them, and they just believed everything that was said. But now you see that people can go on strike and don't lose their job. They actually get more. And so people are now standing up and talking back because they say, well, if I speak up, I won't lose, I will actually gain. And I think the more we see these strikes, the more we see people standing up and bringing their little kids, because we got to start them when they're young. They bring their little kids, and their little kids will see my mom, my grandma, my dad, my aunt was on the picket line, and they grow up to that culture and realize that they deserve more because they saw it. We got to be a representation for our youth, for the young people, so they know they won't be scared.
Right.
And so we just got to change the culture, and I think we're changing the culture every day. Every strike that we see, every work stoppage that we see, every delegation that's done on social media, every rally that's happening is showing people that it is possible to stand up and speak up without losing your job, because you're doing it because you can't afford, like Seth said, you can't afford to pay rent. You got multi-family households, families in one household because they can't afford one apartment with their salaries.
Yeah. So just to follow up on the question with you a little bit, that's kind of your story, isn't it? And then you didn't think you could be able to stand up, right?
I mean, it's not that I didn't think, because I always spoke out, you know, non-union jobs, I didn't care, you know, but I didn't think that I would be in this position. But speaking out, I really didn't have a problem with it, but I think it was just being in this position to fight for other folks. I was just for myself. Like, if I was mistreated myself, then I'm like, oh, you're not gonna talk to me like that, you know. But for us being in this position and being like the voice for Local 634 that's a lot to bear.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that I could be able to do it, but you know.
Quickly, the workers you represent again are?
The School District of Philadelphia lunch cafeteria. I would say the lunch, but it's not just lunch ladies. It's lunch ladies, lunch men, cafeteria workers. So we represent the people who feed the food, serve the food, people who monitor the kids in the cafeteria, in the yards, in the hallways, and we represent early childhood also that feed the food.
How many people are part of your union?
We got about 2,000 members.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Brian, you want to share a little bit about the same question? Just about the big picture and these contract battles, whether it be hotel or security guards or school district, and how's it shaping Philadelphia?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what Nicole and Zeth have been saying here. Look, I think we're in a unique time. We're in a trying time, but we're also in a hopeful time if you're a believer. And I believe in people. And I think, we saw what the sanitation workers just went through, right? We know the struggles of the school workers, the district workers, right? 634, teachers and beyond, right? So when I think about the workers right now, the cleaners and the security and the hotels, I think that we got to come together in a real way. And I think it's time we do that, right? I know we got to fight in this country, but we got to fight in this city.
Yep.
We got to
That's
figure out
right.
how to echo and do that together. I think that it can be done. There have been places where we saw this. I believe Minnesota might be one of them, right? Like, how do we line ourselves up and do what we need to do? Because it's getting harder and harder. It's getting harder for me to go to the grocery store,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's hard for our members to go to the grocery store. And I think this is what hotel workers I know have been saying, right? Like, you got to rob Peter to pay Paul, right? And we need something. We're not asking for a large, we asking to make it. And I think that everybody's doing that, right? And we really should be asking it should be sky's the limit, right? We really are behind in the city, and we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many workers does Unite Here 274 actually represent?
I think roughly between 5,000 members.
5,000. That's hotel and restaurant.
Yeah, so hotels, all the stadiums in South Philly where all the games go on, and the Philadelphia International Airport. We are a majority at the Philadelphia International Airport now.
Excellent.
That's great.
Excellent. And we knew each other from that airport battle many years ago. And some of the workers then were making less than $5 an hour.
Yeah. So
What are they doing now?
well, and just to echo what you just said, I remember when we were just talking to workers, seeing the jazz, what was going on. Workers were working 40 hours at these jobs and still qualify for benefits, if you could believe that. I always thought that was wild. But just to talk about where workers are at, we talk about the wages, but also too the languages that's in contracts. People wasn't able to take vacations. Now, folks that work at the airport, they go back home because it's to see their family that they have not seen, and they get paid. They're able to take a vacation, and the company must pay them. So I think that's special. Wages are consistently going up, right? We're in contract battles now, right? But we are continuing to push the envelope there. Workers were working, some of them working late at night, then got to show up first thing in the morning. That has changed at the airport significantly, right? You have to have a rest period of 12 hours or so.
That scheduling law made a difference?
Yes, it made a huge difference. People, if y'all can believe this, like, people were sleeping at the airport, just working two jobs. Like, when we're talking to people, sometimes their phones didn't stay on because they couldn't afford to pay their bill when we first started out at the airport. It was very hard. It was a real struggle.
Yeah. I saw. In fact, I saw them staying at the airport. I saw you guys, organizers, who would end up staying at the airport too, sleeping at the airport. Yeah, that was crazy. Much of that has changed, and unionization made the difference. So second question I'll throw out again is, so what is a living wage? When we talk about a living wage and union workers wanting a living wage, what does that look like?
I think a living wage, because we've been into it, like $12, then $15. Like, look, a true living wage is where you can make it. Using that word that we know don't exist no more, middle class, right? Like, does that word, you either rich or you poor? And a lot of us just fit poor, right? So being able to say you're middle class, right? Being able to take a vacation with your family, being able to do normal things, afford groceries, getting enough money to earn that, getting enough money, whether it's for Thanksgiving or Christmas, being able to take a vacation. I think all of those things are that keep you sane, right? is a living wage, right? We know it just goes beyond the money, but you have to have the money, right, and the resources in order to make those things, to put your kids through college, like all these different things.
And all of them cost money.
Yeah.
Is there a particular figure for what a living wage is in Philadelphia? Or do you, is there a particular number that you guys are shooting for? I know some say in Philadelphia for a family of one, it's about at least $61,000 a year, which is about almost $30 an hour. That sound right? Or?
I mean, I think you can't put a figure on it because as soon as you put a dollar figure, then inflation goes up, and so you put it in the contracts, and then, you know, I mean, I know when you negotiate a contract, you got to have a figure. I know that, but it also depends on the type of work that you're doing. So I think for me, like I echo what Brahim said. Like I say to put a dollar sign like while we're talking because it depends on so many different factors. But I think just to be able to pay your gas, electric, and water in one check is a livable wage. You know, be able to pay your rent. You know, that's a livable, and then be able to, you know, we all have kids in this room and grandkids. You know, and so they want popsicles, they want snacks. And they want pizza on Fridays, or no, now they want like Chick-fil-A, you know, and which costs a lot because they keep going up. And they don't understand that you can't buy Chick-fil-A for a family of four, which costs $100 to buy Chick-fil-A for a family of four, so they don't understand it. And so I think a livable wage to be able to treat your kids to Chick-fil-A on a Friday. So I know you like a figure, but I'm just like,
I mean, that's real. That's real. I only talk about figures in a sense to making sure people know how far away they are from it.
yeah.
I remember we did, for Unite Here, we did a poverty summit. We met at my
Black Work Matters, right?
Yep. And we met at my church, and people were talking about that they made $8 an hour. This was 2016.
Yeah.
$8 an hour, and we said, you know, that the amount of money you have to be making to be out of poverty is about $15 an hour. And so the person came up and said, well, I thought we were doing pretty good until I heard the 15 figure and we were making $11 an hour. I thought we were doing pretty good, but now I know we po. You know, and it is because we have so much concentration of poor people in our community, even poor folk don't even know that they're poor, that you should be making a whole lot more. And so I tell that story just to say, hey, look, if airport security is fighting for, well, they're about $16 an hour, not airport security guards, about $16 an hour. They need to be making a whole lot more to even have a living wage. They're barely making minimum wage. They're barely making out of poverty. They're still getting, some of them getting food stamps because they qualify, because they make so little. To make a living wage, they have to make a whole lot more. And so we in the union movement get excited when we move from $8 to 11 or 8 to 15 or get up to $16 an hour. We say, hey, we're doing something great, but we know to be able to do a living wage, you got a whole lot more money that you need to be making. And good.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Nicole said. Also, I think just context. Saw a reference to a study recently that if minimum wage had kept pace with inflation over the course of the years from the time that it was introduced to now, it would be around $28 an hour now. Of course, that varies from city to city, region to region, as Nicole's saying. So it's different. It could be different for Philadelphia. The cost of living has increased dramatically in Philadelphia over the last 5-10 years, right? So we're seeing the average cost of a one-bedroom apartment in Philadelphia is now $1,600 a month. So when you think about how much you would need to pay for rent, groceries, gas, electric, Chick-fil-A on Fridays, right? That's, you know, it's a lot more than 725, and it's a lot more than 15 at this point. So, yeah, man, the corporations need to come off all these profits and start paying people what they deserve.
And can I just say, because like you said, because I can think like 725, like that has to be changed. That is the bottom of the bottom, and that has to be changed. And it doesn't make sense that we are still. When was the last time minimum wage was raised? Was it 20 years ago?
2009.
2009 in Pennsylvania, but even longer for the whole federal.
Yeah,
federal statute.
which is ridiculous. Like that has to be. Nobody can live on 725 an hour. So when the job says they pay you 8, we're paying you above, but it's still.
The other part of this is we've seen the billionaires' wealth increase by, I think it was like almost 75% over the last 4 years.
Yes, COVID.
Over the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think it was Bezos that was worth about 100 billion. Now he's like 330 billion.
Right.
He was the only one that profited during COVID, I believe. And then, yeah.
A lot of the corporations profited during COVID.
Yeah. Well, when I'm saying him, but not the workers.
Right.
Not the workers. He was the one that profited during COVID because people 401ks went down. They went down from inflation, but his went. His salaries went up. So his workers, he didn't want to pay them.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things about these fights in Philadelphia is that many of the workers in these fights are black and brown Philadelphians. How do issues of race and racial equity show up in your union's organizing and contract demands? I mean, do they pay less just because they're dealing mainly with black folk? Or do they feel less about paying workers that are mainly black and brown folk because they're black and brown folk? Any of you can answer that question.
Well, that was the fight, and we were just talking about this, but that was the fight last year, just not that long ago, at the stadiums, right? They were fighting, you know, you think about dishwashers, concession workers, dishwashers, you know, some of these were some of the lowest paid folks in our union, and we had to get them that strike, a lot of it was about getting them over the hump and finally getting them on some sort of structure to where they need to be. But work has, you know, for a long time, it's getting better now with a lot of segregated work where I used to work at.
Explain that a little bit more.
Well, I worked in concessions for a long time, right, down South Philly. And I think that, you know, you could just kind of look around and see where people worked at. Right, who was the bartenders, right? Who worked in the concession stands? Who worked in the back of the house? And
where did you make most of the money? Who made the most money?
Well, I feel like front of the house makes most of the money, right?
And
That's
the front of the
servers,
house was mostly white?
Yeah, majority white. You can kind of count. It's changing a little bit now, and that's because over the years, the relationship in the fighting is what gets you there. And I think that a lot of that has happened. I know what it's like to work in concessions and you know, and workers working in the heat, right? And then, like, you know, you got air conditions in some of the bars, right? So work has been segregated, and I think that, and it's not just here, downtown, Center City. I'm quite sure a lot of, you know, the pubs and everything down there, but we had to fight to make that shift. Even in some of the best paying jobs in the stadium. As you know, I worked, again, in concession, worked when the Phillies played. I worked when the Phillies played. Now, when they were on the road, I didn't make money in concessions, but there were jobs. Like, I never knew until the union came along, like culinary. Oh, they don't just work game day. Oh, they work for mitzvahs, weddings. The merchandise store, the store stays open all year round, right?
And they charge a lot of money.
Yeah,
they clean plenty of money.
Yep, the cleaners, right? They are working at the retail warehouse. They're working when the Phillies are on the road, and I was able. What opened my eyes to that more is when I was able, through our union contract, not just the money, right? Like switch. Sometimes you got to have really good language as well. Switching departments and going into the maintenance department where when the Phillies are on the road, I'm at work. When they're home, I'm making, it's doubling my income, and also got health care for the first time as a working adult, doing that, being able to work all those days.
Yeah. Any other ways race has been showing up in the union work? I mean, Philly is 40% African American. We'll start with you, Seth. Yeah.
Well, first off, let's acknowledge that, slavery set the labor market.
You must have been in my head. Oh, you was in my head.
And
Say that one more time.
I said we have to acknowledge that slavery set the labor market and baked racism into capitalism. We're dealing with historic structures, right? So you may have those who believe in the free market who'll say, oh, it's not racism, it's just the free market. It's nothing free about this market. But, we historically, obviously enslaved Africans weren't paid at all. And then when they were no longer enslaved, moved into the lowest paying, most dangerous jobs that existed. It's important. This is how capitalism functions. There is a hierarchy in the labor market, right? There are those who do the lowest paid, most dangerous jobs, and there are those who get the benefits and the privileges. Okay, and that's the economic system that we live in. The labor movement has always been a way for Black and brown and Asian, but particularly for Black folk, because if we can bring Black folk up, everybody increases, right? But so it has historically been a way for us to be able to address some of these differences, sector by sector, shop by shop in the labor market. It's been an upward pressure on this divide and conquer strategy. So, one of the things it does, one of the things a union contract does is it sets the rate for the job, right? You can no longer pay people differently for doing the same work. You have a contract, everybody does this job, gets paid the same, right? That's incredibly important. One of the things that we're still working to do and fighting to do is to make sure then that there isn't differentiation by race in terms of who gets what job, right?
Yeah,
So
that's the battle at the stadium we was just talking about.
that's the battle there. So when I was at SEIU Healthcare, I was part of a contract fight at Chestnut Hill Hospital.
I remember that.
You remember that? And so there were a lot of workers, and we didn't represent the nurses there. We represent the service workers and the aides, the techs, the aides, the cleaners, and there was a situation where it was Tower Health, and they inherited this, and we looked at the wages across the hospital, and it was all over the place, but there was no rhyme or reason for, you had been here for a certain amount of time, but what we saw when we looked at it was, you got a lot of white people getting paid and getting promoted a lot faster than Black folk who have worked here for 20 years, 30 years, right? So you would there was a lot of nepotism. A supervisor would get their cousin hired, and then the cousin would come in, they would get trained by someone Black who had been in that position for 20 years.
Yes.
And 6 months later, they'd be over them, right?
I've seen that all over.
All over.
And federal government particularly, I've seen that.
All over.
I had one member of my church who was a GS4, which is in the introductory, for 30 years. She trained over 30 to 40 people who actually went up to G14s and 15s and everything like that. And never got a raise.
Never got a raise.
Never got a raise.
So what so just to finish that story really quickly,
Yeah, please.
what those workers were able to do was they were able to stand together and fight to completely readjust and create a wage scale that was based on years of experience, based on, right? And so, some people weren't happy, some people were very happy, but we created an equitable system that reflected people's years of service. Folks who hadn't had an opportunity, hadn't gotten raises for many, many years, got a big bump. And that was because of the union, it was because they stood together. So that's one way that unions can really address that kind of ongoing racism in the workplace.
Excellent. Cool. Did you want to share?
No, I think, so I got to figure out how to put it, because I think,
You know how to put it.
because a lot of times we are our worst enemies. And so, like you told the story about when you did the Black Works Matter in your church, and the guy was making $8, and he thought that he was doing good. And so they accepted that. And so like when you talk about slavery, and I was thinking like this, the slave man mentality, because we don't think that we deserve more. And it's not all of us, but there's a lot of folks like, oh, I'm gonna get this job. But the companies and the places need us to do this work. And so if we don't accept these low wages, if we don't accept these jobs, they're gonna have to raise it, because like in the stadiums, if nobody did the concessions, I was just at the Eagles game, a freaking beer is $10. We got 2 hot dogs and 2 beers, and it was like $50. And so, but somebody has to do that work. Somebody has to serve that beer. Somebody has to put that hot dog on a bun. And so we think about like us, because we jump over each other. Instead of us sticking together, we got to teach folks, black folks, that we deserve more. And where does that start? Because if we don't realize that we deserve more, you don't deserve a $7.25-hour job. It don't matter how many skills you have. Just because you're white doesn't make you right. And just because you're white don't make you have more skills or smarter than me. You can go to school and have a degree and still be the dumbest person in the world. You can take a test. You can take a test. And so I just think that we have to learn and teach that we deserve more. If we don't take those positions, we don't have to be in the outhouse anymore.
We deserve more. I heard that the other day.
Did you?
Yeah. As we were standing the other day, standing with temp workers and.
Oh.
Yes,
Yep,
yes,
that's
yes,
right.
yeah.
That's right, because temp workers definitely deserve more, just because they have had a bad situation where they may have been incarcerated because of they can't find a job, or they feel like they need more because they can't afford to take care of their families on $7.25. So they go do some things that they did when they were 17, 18 years old. Now they're 45 and still paying for it. It's ridiculous. And so again, we gotta teach folks that we can do more. We don't have to take those back of the house jobs, because somebody's going to fill them. It don't have to be us.
So how do you move black and brown workers who have come from a mentality of believing that $7.25 is the best I can do? How do you move them to believe that they should want more and can get more and deserve more?
How do you move them? I mean, I think it's not it will be a long term. You got to start them from, you got to first, the adult that's teaching has to understand that they deserve more. And then you got to teach the kids. I always believe it's always for the kids. You got to teach them when they're young and instill these things in them. And I think it's going to take a while but I think us with the more strikes and the more fighting, those things are showing people more. And I think, but I think it's not a one-shot thing. I think it's just like people voting and standing up. They don't believe, a lot of black folks that we have seen in this current, mayor's election, that a lot of people didn't come out to vote because they thought that their vote didn't matter because it's already set in stone. But if people would have came out, they could have did the right thing by you. They could have did the right thing by me. They could have did the right thing by a lot of us, because they just don't think that stuff matters. They don't matter. And then we got to, I don't know. I think I'm tongue-tied right now. But
No, you said a lot of good points about this is a consistent thing. This is not a one-shot thing.
No.
You keep building shows like this, radio programs, or every time you organize, every time you have a
Training.
strike, every time you train, all continuing to teach people over and over, you deserve more, you deserve more, you deserve more, you deserve more, in a variety of ways, and then direct action, which teaches them they deserve more. You know, all of that puts together to create the kind of culture that we want to hear in the city of Philadelphia, of people who know they deserve more and will do whatever is necessary to make sure that they get it. Brian, you want to get on that subject? How do you move people in that direction?
Yeah, I wanted to say, like, training, right? Like we see in our industries, oftentimes they're not qualified. They can't be a bartender, they can't be a server, or they can't, you know, be a medical assistant or whatever, right? And I think what I'm proud to be doing in our training fund is to be training people, right?
Tell us a little bit more about your training fund work and how that all works.
So,
And actually what you guys did to set that up.
well, it's a lot of fighting that came behind that. So let me get that out the way because it was before my time a little bit. But I want to say the word hotel than other hotels like the Sheraton, hotels throughout Center City. They fought to have a training fund in their contract, right? So now when you think about that, you know, that's not about just pay. That is not about just in their four walls. That goes out to the community, right? That goes out to, like, hey, taking care of, let's take care of the future, right? And we've been able to secure that and then move to the stadium. So right now employers contribute to that fund, right? And one of the things I do, along with the fighting, right, I work with employers to hire folks from our training program. And a lot of the times I'm targeting folks from some of the poor zip codes in our community because we're a recruitment, training, job placement, and certification program. So we want to kind of hit all of those doors. You know, we were just talking about the temp stuff. It's really, you know, we was all there. You know, I've had workers go through our training program and, you know, talk about confidence and things like that. So, you know, people that come to these programs, they're not like folks that are doing great, right? There's they've been through something, right? They have formerly incarcerated, right? Underemployed, don't have the skills, right? And they come do the training program and we want to put them in the best places possible. Now that's not going to, when it comes to our program, we're giving them the basics. They still got to go through the company and get the additional training. But if you go through a program and you get certified, you pass your testing, you go on the interview, and they be like, hey, we like this person, right? And then you get the job, right? So you do that background check, and that background check doesn't clear. What does that look like? They don't hire you, right? And that's messed up alone, right? Like, but if you go through a temp agency, you might can get that same job, right? Why? Why is that? Because, you know, they hire a lot of formerly incarcerated people, right? Like, and then you're getting placed in some of these places that, you know, you tried to apply for. And I think
that's a powerful story.
Yeah.
So they weren't good enough to be a union worker.
Exactly.
Not because the union was not promoting them, because the company didn't want to have them. But when they could pay them temp wages and no protection, and no of the work the union had been doing, no, they said, come on.
Yeah.
Right.
And work the same job
Next
for
to a union
significantly
person.
less.
For significantly
Right
less.
next to a union person.
Yep, exactly.
They use their incarceration record as a way of excluding them, but really not valuing them, making them pay them even less.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is horrendous. That is horrendous.
It's awful.
That ought to be illegal. Yeah, a company should not be able to go get a temp for and not set in that same position for a full-time union job. Yeah.
I think it goes back to what you were saying, right? Like it was slave wages, right? And slavery, how the temp industry even start it, you know.
The corporations and employers are always trying to pit one group of workers against another group of workers to drive wages down and boost profits, right? That's their whole MO, right? The question that you asked was, how do we get people to feel like they're worth more? And I love the idea of training, but I'll also say, right, because there needs to be pathways into better paying jobs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I'll also say, anybody who cleans a toilet, flips a burger, deserves a livable wage that they can raise their family on, right? So it's, you know, it's not all about training. It's about paying people a living wage. All work has dignity. All work contributes. If you're cleaning toilets, you deserve $28 an hour.
Yes.
If that's right. So
yes.
Because it's nasty.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, and to that point, the security guards who are maybe going on strike as of the taping of this program, they're at $16 an hour now. That's not enough. They put their lives on the line.
right.
They're risking their lives to protect us, and they're only making $16 an hour. Police, for a similar kind of job of protection, at a similar education level, because a police officer doesn't need to even finish high school for that matter. They're starting them at $87,000 and $90,000, which I'm glad, good. But compared to now those security guards that are really of the same education level and are doing similar jobs and have to do that job without any gun or protection for themselves and putting themselves in dangerous situations where they have to put their bodies in the line, get only $16 an hour, which is really about $30,000 a year if they have 40 hours a week. That kind of pay disparity for a lot of the same kind of work does not make sense to me. But we live with that every day, even though that Allied Financial Company, I believe, is profiting over $20 billion a year in profit every year.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is ridiculous, right? Why are these companies making billions and billions and billions of dollars in profit and paying people, you know, wages that they can't afford to live on? This was just wrong. It's just wrong.
Well, let me follow up with this question then. How can unions help the public understand that these struggles are not just about contracts, but about the moral question of how we value essential work in our city? What can we do? We focus on how we can change the worker, but how do we get the public to see this in a deeper way?
So just
Any of you, just jump
I'll
in.
just start
Yeah,
and
just
folks
start.
jump in. But I really felt like the city was behind DC 33 when they went out on strike in a way that I have never seen before, right? Like, this city was behind DC 33. And they said, no, we need to pay our city workers who do these dangerous jobs a living wage. Our elected leadership didn't see it that way, but the people of Philadelphia saw it that way, and it was really clear. And I think a lot of people, you know, are moving from the ranks of the so-called middle class, you know, into the ranks of, I don't know, I mean, we can talk about what these terms mean, but, you know, working class folk, they're seeing themselves as working class. And everybody is struggling. Everybody is struggling, kind of no matter where you are on the kind of pay scale that any of us would fall on, right? And so there is sympathy. And we see these billionaires. We see what's going on, right? And people are angry.
Yes.
And, you know, people look and they go, oh, that could be me. You know, that could be me tomorrow. That could be me next week. And so when people are, I don't know, I think people are there. I think the general public is getting there. I think the general public understands that it's a moral issue, is seeing itself more and more in solidarity with working people. And I think that's, honestly, I think that's what's terrifying the folks at the top, is that we're starting to see our commonality and our intertwined futures, as they say.
Nicole, you agree with that?
I do, because I think I absolutely agree, because I think they was behind DC 33, and I think because their family members were in DC 33.
Yes.
So they knew them directly, it affected
Right.
them directly.
Right.
And so I think more places are becoming unions, so more people are in unions. So more people understand the fight of unions,
Yeah.
because they see, because you read the social media and they say, like, give them their money, because their brother, their cousin, their sister is in DC 33. Not just people talked about the trash, but it was more than just the trash. It was
Right.
public services. It was more than just the trash, but the trash
Yep.
was like the bigger issue. And so, but they had somebody, they knew somebody. So when they lost a check, when that person in DC 33 lost a check, they lost an income too. And so then they had to support that family member with this, and so like give them that money so they can go back to work. So I think it's because people are in different unions and family members are in it, so they see it. And you know, like you said, the leadership didn't do their job, and so people saw that too. People saw that too, and they will make a decision moving forward, because if you're not for the workers or for the city, and then you want my vote, you know, so.
Well, so for those who are listening, this again, we want to be clear about this. The average DC 33 worker before this contract was making $45,000 a year. The police, 87,000.
And they just got new uniforms.
Yeah, and but
so
when
funny.
what is the second most dangerous job in the city? Not the police,
Sanitation work.
sanitation worker. And when you think about it, you're like, they pick up toxins every day, and they do it in the middle of the street. They duck,
All
dodge
type of
cars,
weather.
all kinds of weather, snow,
Yep.
sleet, rain, heat. They're picking up our garbage that is dangerous anyway, and ducking the drivers who are trying to go around them.
Right.
When you think about it, yes, I guess that would be the second most dangerous. Police are third, firefighters are first, but the second most dangerous, yet they get paid almost less than half, almost half of what police officers get paid. Again, nothing against what police officers are making, don't get me wrong. I think everybody should be up there in that figure, not putting them down, but the fact that they make so little, and even after this contract, they still will make so little.
Yeah.
I think it's true what you say. Both of you, Seth and Nicole, were saying the city was galvanized around that because they understood the dimensions of how they were underpaid and still are underpaid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we build off of that point? That's not, how do we build? How do we build off of that? How do we first build solidarity with all unions working together? And how do we build off of the fact of that fight that so many in our community were aligned with those workers? Yeah. Anybody can jump in.
So I mean, how do we build solidarity with other unions? I think the main thing about it is, as elected leaders, we have to get off our soapbox and don't forget why we're here, because sometimes we have folks that have been elected union leaders for a long time and forget that you were elected to do the work of the people, not the work of yourself. And so if we the elected leaders remember that and then put the egos to the side, I think we could do a lot. I think we can do a lot together because our common goal should be to make sure that workers are able to pay their bills and feed their families in the same time. And so I think we have to, and I don't know, like I don't have, I know what it should happen, but I don't know how to get it together because again, we have folks who are here and don't, yeah. So we got to stick together as unions. We got to stick together as a union because of and again, we're stronger together as opposed to separate. Because if we stand up, if we all fight like the DC 33 fight, if every union was behind them, almost every union was behind them. And so, but when we have a fight, because if we stand with you, then when we have a fight, then you'll stand with us. And if we didn't need you to stand with us, we still stand with you. It don't matter because again, my worker is your worker's family. So it comes together because if my people don't make the money, and they're the mother or wife or husband of another union, then they got to supplement their income. You know, so it might.
Right.
Brian, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think just to echo what Nicole's saying, like I think we got to come together for understanding too. And sometimes unions, being in a union, it gets competitive, right? And I think that yeah. And you know, and I think that one thing I see is when we go to city council on policies, right? Not just the sanitation stuff, but we see unions pushing for certain things, and then we see not all the unions are on the same page, right? We got other unions that are on the other side, like, no, we want this, you know? And that's something that's divisive, right? We're already now on the same page. So when we need the time to come push something that we all need to be for, we can't really do it, right? Our backs are against the wall, and we got to figure that out. How can we all of us that know, we all need to get on the same page. Very easily said, but hard to do. Right?
Yeah.
So when they sing songs like "Solidarity Forever," they don't mean that.
We do. Yes, we do.
For some.
Right.
Solidarity for some forever.
Right. Well, no, I mean, it starts with if you're a union leader, you don't cross the picket line of another union strike.
Yes.
No.
How about that?
I thought it was powerful last year. For real. When my man LL Cool J.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
that was powerful.
Said,
Yeah.
Nah, I can't do that.
That
He's
was
not even
very-
an elected official.
Right. That was so. Yeah, that was
That
was very powerful. That was very powerful.
No. He's like, I can't stay up here in New York and do that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's cool. I mean, to literally see celebrities saying, and some of those celebrities who had just been on strike themselves because they were fighting to make sure AI didn't take over the industry. And so he has the SAG card. He had to do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we actually had that with DC 33, if we actually had union solidarity, if nobody said, no, I'm gonna leave my garbage right here, man. I ain't taking it down to the dump. I'm gonna cross the picket line if I do that. You know, if we actually had that, what could we even potentially talk about what a general strike would look like here in the city of Philadelphia?
Oh, what a question.
You got that, Seth. You got that question.
A general strike in the city of
We
Philadelphia.
got about 5 minutes left, so we'll answer this question and then we'll do some closing comments.
I mean, you know, this gets to the question of, you know, why do we exist as unions, right? Do we exist just to advance the narrow interests of our members, or do we exist to advance the interests of the working class, right, as a whole? And we already know that the capitalists are going to play workers against each other anywhere they can, divide and conquer. That's their game. So we know we got to stick together. We got to stick together. And I know it's easier said than done because there's lots of ways that they try to divide us.
Oh, yes, they do.
But, that's what we've got to move toward, I think. And I think we are. It's happening slowly. We see the UAW and some other unions that are beginning to align their contracts for when they expire in 2028. I think we got to move that timeline up a little bit, because I don't know if we can wait till 2028. But, that is a move in the right direction, right? Where we understand that as the labor movement, we are a force, and we have kind of like an historic obligation, to fight for the whole working class. And that means standing together. And
is it possible?
It's possible. I tell you, it's possible. So when you think about all the stuff that's going on in this country right now, and I know we're talking about the country, we're talking about the city, but we could change things 180 degrees in a week from now. If for a week we all went home, put our hands in our pockets, and sat on the couch. I'm telling you, the greatest power we have is our labor power. And when we withhold that to fight for the things that we need for everybody, we can change the world. We can change this country. We can change the city.
Is that possible?
Yeah, it's possible.
You sure?
And I'm 1,000 is possible. I agree with Zeph. We got to figure out how to come together and make it make sense for all of us, not just one or two, but for everybody. And we got to sacrifice, right? Might be some stuff that we have to sacrifice for the better good in the long run.
You mean your union may have to sacrifice for the greater good, so they don't get the number that they want, or the deal that they want, or the legislation they want, because they need the collective to work together?
Yeah, I think that's true for all of us. We all got to be in position to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Nicole, you think it's possible?
I think it can be possible. Anything is possible if we, again, stick together and not try to step over each other.
Yeah.
We got to stop stepping over each other in order to get what we got to get. Just like somebody stepped over, you step over somebody else, somebody can step over you. So we got to align and say, look, I won't do it. If they can't have $50, then I don't want $50. When we, like Seth said, we sit back and we wait till they give us what we want. So we got to stop stepping over each other to get our self-interest done, right?
So we have 3 minutes left, so I want to just give you about 30 seconds each for a closing comment. Thank you so much for being here and for this very important conversation that we're having in this holiday season. As we go forward together. So just 30 seconds, give me one more point about what you think is important to share with the audience.
Well, I think it's important, we're in a trying time, right? I think it's important that we be smart about the things that we do. Like, we know what's going on with SNAP. We know what's going on in this country. It's really, truly a time for us all to come together. Labor leaders, union, and community.
Yes.
And we got to figure it out together so we can show the powers to be what's necessary when we all truly fight together.
Nicole, 30 seconds.
Same. I think we got to stick together. Unions are important. We got to understand what unions are for. We can't fight with each other because we got to fight the boss. The main thing is to fight the boss and fight the person that signs off on our contracts. We got to make sure if we stick together, anything is possible. And we got to understand that we deserve more and bring that mentality up and say that I don't stop looking at yourself as less than and know that you are powerful no matter what color you are. Black folks are very powerful. We can shut down Wall Street.
Yes. Absolutely.
Seth, 30 seconds.
All right. We can't let them divide us. We cannot let them divide us. We are workers, whether we're in the workplace or whether we're in our communities. They try to divide us against each other, workers versus community. We're the same people. We're the same people. Our services are getting cut. Public schools are getting closed. We're all being affected by what's going on. We need to stand together as working people, period, and fight for a different
Thank you for that last word. Thank you again for being with us today. This is, again, another episode of Just Nation. Our issues around race, justice, and faith. Our faith says we stand with the least of these. These workers, these union leaders stand up with the least of these in the city in terms of finance. Together, if we stand together, we can win together. Thank you very much again for watching the program. See you next time.
All right.
All right.